Happy Aloha Friday. This is Cindy, your host, and I'm coming to you from Growing Your Business Through Referrals and National Days, and also powered by my podcast, Ask Cindy Connector Live. Today, we're celebrating National Read a Book Day, and we'll talk about later. It's also Coffee Ice Cream Day. So go out and check out nationaldaycalendar.com, and we'll see you here on the other side. Well, look who we have in the studio. Back by popular demand. I've had several of my connections wanting you back, and we're actually going to have him on a team call for my travel agency as well. We're going to start talking about European travel. I've actually known Jim since 2012. We're part of a travel brand many years ago, and then I started my own agency in 2018, and take it away, baby. Celebrating National Read a Book Day. Let's talk about your book and why we need to have it in our arsenal of reads.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on. And book is called Never Travel in a Straight Line. And, travel transcends so many parts of our lives. And when I wrote this, I really didn't, even though I've traveled a lot, over 100 countries,
wow,
I just never realized the impact from so many people and what not just traveling is, but the idea of travel for them and how important it is for them. So that's what the book means to me and why I penned it.
So let's kind of get a little further than we did last time. Let's talk about why we need to read this book. Whether you're a traveler, you're in a travel agency, or you're a travel blogger, what is the value of this amazing book?
Yeah, so I started working in the travel industry probably, I want to say maybe 40 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So longer than many people are old. And I recognized early on that the industry itself and the workers in the industry have really evolved, whether it was something they wanted to do or something that they were part of the evolution of, like airlines, right? I mean, it used to be people wore a suit and tie to get on a plane, and people now, they just, they put their feet up on the bulkhead wall, on the seat made in front of them, and, things like that. Travel definitely isn't what it used to be. And people complain about, well, airline employees aren't what they used to be either.
That's very true. Yeah.
And, I think the two go hand in hand, certainly. I don't know that either faction really wanted to be the old way where, everyone, on a 20-minute flight, everyone got served, bacon or eggs or whatever it was. And, people probably don't want to have to wear suits and ties and pay a lot of more money when they get on a plane. So for me, I took a look and said, travel really is about, the individual and the intent and the purpose, and maybe more so today than it was, 40 years ago or 60 years ago, right? I think 40 or 60 years ago, there was a much smaller part of the population who traveled. And when they did, especially the ones who were kind of fringe travelers, travel the way, for leisure that we do today, I really don't think there were that many of them, as a percentage of the population. Today, it's almost, let's say it's 50-50. Back then, I would probably say it was probably just 30% of travelers were leisure travelers of some sort, and the majority of them traveled for some specific reason. And so, when I think about never traveling in a straight line, it's more than just the way that we travel, but it's the reason behind why we travel. And it's about the experience that we have when we travel. And You know, you know, in the essence, or what we get out of when we travel and spend so much time traveling.
So, what is your best advice for somebody who wants to solo travel?
Solo travel,
Hmm.
go. That's my best advice, is
Just
go.
go.
Right.
What are
So
your favorite places for solo travel?
yeah, so I would say that probably 80% of my book is about solo travel and traveling on my own and feeling, you know, good about it or feeling great about it. In fact, I kind of write in at the beginning of each section, I actually wrote a poem. It's
Oh,
called
wow.
Traveling Man, which I know is a little gender specific. I'm working on a more gender fluid sort of poem. But you know, yeah, I wrote a part. You know, there are rules that I follow when traveling abroad. I travel alone, unencumbered, and flawed. So it's not like perfect. I'm still a flawed traveler. I still get angry. I still make mistakes traveling, things like that. I don't travel with bosses, colleagues, or friends, only those I know well and can make quick amends. I travel fast and with hardly a plan. I go with the flow and make up where I can. I change my mind. I change my speed. I change my way, and I never concede. I pack my things going out the door, a waste of time to pack before. I've missed a flight, smelt a stench, slept in clothes on an airport bench. I laugh and dance in the face of heat and rarely look back, never missing a beat. And once in a while, I score a treat and get to sit in an upgraded seat. So for me, you know, traveling alone is being unencumbered, right? You get to do your own thing. You get to make changes when you want. You get to do the things that you know you're passionate about. You know, and so my best advice is really pick up a copy of the book and you know read about traveling alone and what that experience is like. So I enjoy traveling alone. I miss traveling with people at times. I miss the experience of craziness and chaos and people who don't usually travel and people who get frustrated in lines and people who get frustrated on airports and or you know at the airport or people who don't like the food at the resort or people look at that, it's even on sale now, 15% off. So you know, I think that you know there is so much that about traveling alone versus traveling with others, and that we can really learn from and benefit from. So, travel tips for traveling alone. People do it. People travel almost everywhere. I can't think of a place where people don't travel alone or can travel alone. You know, even on you know uh, you know, on cruise ships, when you pay two people for a cabin, there's ways that single people do that. I've done it.
Hmm.
Last one of the last cruises I took from New York to London on the Queen Mary, I
Oh,
went alone, and that was just an awesome, awesome, awesome experience. I mean, you know, the ship is the destination, and uh, you know, it was just great. It was great to hang out. They have pubs on board, and they have things to do, and that. So I haven't found a place yet where traveling alone wasn't a positive experience.
wow. Well, this is something really huge. Is getting global entry. I actually went to Dominican Republic last year, and then coming back into Miami, it took me 3 hours to get to my plane. So let's kind of talk about how the global entry kind of plays into, especially if you're leaving out of the country.
Yeah. So, you know, and global entry really is part of a bigger picture, right? So the way global entry works, and they've really changed. So when I first joined global entry 4 or 5 years ago, you came through. There were kiosks at the sort of immigration area. So customs is when you get your luggage.
Hmm.
Just to explain the difference between customs and immigration, it really should be called immigration and customs because you go through immigration first almost all the time. So uh, the way global entry works, and now they have like 5 different ways to get through immigration. So you go through. You come up to the big open area, and they certainly still have lines for people who really like lines. I like lines. Once in a while, I go in the line, and then they yell at me for going in the line. But and when you go to in the past, when you went to global entry, there was a kiosk, and you slide your passport in it, and you verify who you are, that you're not bringing $10,000 or more in, you're not bringing in meat or reptiles or plants or things like that. And you get a little coupon that comes out, and you go and you wait in a line then to give it to the immigration agent, and they may ask you another question or not, and you go through, you get your luggage, you keep the receipt, and you show it to the person when you're leaving, and they just kind of wave you on. So now you don't even do that. Now you just go up to, you go through, and there are airports. This is the craziest thing. There are airports where there's still a kiosk. You still look at the screen. It verifies you. You don't put your name or your passport in. It looks at you and it says, you just came in on, from the Dominican Republic on Southwest Airlines flight 1442, and you're free to roam about the airport, right? So, so there's that. And now I've seen it where you don't even do that. Now you just keep walking, because the cameras are taking pictures of you as you're walking. Wow. And there are people who are like looking. This happened to me when I went to China once, and they were taking thermal scans of people to see if any of them had fevers, right? And if you had a fever, the Chinese authorities were there to sort of body block you from going on. They had like television screens, and there were like 20 people in this. One would start beeping or something, and they would go and ask the person to step aside because their thermal image was higher than whatever a normal range was. So now that's what's happening. If Cindy, if you go into some airports now, when you actually go to TSA, they take your picture. Have you seen that? Mm-hmm. Right? So that's part of this bigger picture where I was describing that. At some date, there won't even be a TSA agent. You'll just go into
yes.
And
I'm waiting for that day.
Yeah, it's coming. It's soon. I mean, now you don't even show them your boarding pass. You give them your driver's license, and they scan that in, and it's all part of the whole facial pattern recognition technology that's becoming real. Now, as part of my work in the past, challenge I have with some of that is, there are apps that want to take your face image. Have you seen those apps before that want to do that? Mm-hmm. Besides your iPhone or your Google Android phone? Wow. There are apps that want to do that. Well, the problem with that now is your face pattern, you're diluting it by allowing other companies to use it. And then when those companies get hacked, guess what just got hacked? All of your biorecognition from your face gets hacked. And, wow. People can biohack your voice. So like my bank, I verify myself with my voice. Well, if I'm on YouTube or Facebook with my voice, people can biohack that, right? And put together the string of words that do that. So
that's scary.
That's why I'm a fan of 2FA or two-factor authentication, where there's some other authentication mechanism that goes in and does that.
So what else would you like to talk about today that's going to add a lot of value to both of our audience, for those who haven't fine-tooth combed through the book?
Sure. So since it's National Read a Book Day, I talk about many of these things in my book, right? I talk about, places that you go that are different. You're going to have different experiences. Some of you might have read where the European Union has rules about liquids. Well, the European Union wants to do away with the 100 centiliters of liquids in the bags, right? They're like, we have the technology now to scan for anything that might be hazardous. So we don't want this whole requirement of putting everything in the bag, the Ziploc bag, but not every airport's ready to do that yet. So they didn't pass that, right? So it's going to become more and more important to look at what local rules are happening. Europe next year, I think, is going to start issuing a digital visa for American travelers or travelers around the world, more people. It doesn't prevent you from going. It just is an extra step to say, you're verified as a traveler before you get there to be able to go there. So I talk about some of the technologies when we're traveling, and those are going to change.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of my background when I worked for American Airlines for 22 years, where I did my job was I was a technology evangelist. I would go and talk about travel technologies and about how they're changing and what's changing around them, right? So
Wow.
we'll start seeing more TSA things. It's still, for me, I still put an air tag in my luggage. I still like to check my luggage because, I think it's kind of cool just to walk through the airport with a backpack and not haul my carry-on luggage all over the place. But that's a religion. And in my book, actually, I have a whole chapter dedicated to baggage and the baggage we bring, including the emotional baggage that we
We
bring.
talked about that at the last show we did a couple months back.
Yeah.
So if you're going to travel, you have to work on yourself. That a vacation really isn't going to help you if you're going through, some kind of a personal thing. And of course, surround yourself by people who celebrate you, not tolerate you.
That's right. I love that.
Build those relationships and literally get off Facebook and create those memories. I talked about that in a podcast a couple of days ago, that it's super important to get yourself off social media, have some me day with, some close friends or even some people that you're starting to get to know. Get off Facebook, get off TikTok, all the socials, and meet in real life. Meet out to, like, I'm really close to the beach. So just the other day, I took Wednesday off for a beach day. And I took one of my friends and we went to a couple different beach spots and we hung out there at the jetty there at Seal Beach. And it was amazing. There was a couple stingray bites though. So that was interesting to watch.
Oh, wow.
Because if you've ever surfed or been in the water, especially in Seal Beach, the water was probably at least 80 degrees. I thought it was 70 some, but it definitely was hotter than that. And so that's actually their feeding area. But just the memories that we created by getting out of the business mode and create those memories. I mean, you can go on the dolphin and whale excursion here in Newport Beach for $35.
Yeah.
You can go to Catalina Island, which actually we're going to spend National Bucket List Day in Catalina Island for 2026. All right. But more importantly, next year, Las Vegas. And we've been talking about having you as our designated speaker for the event.
Thank you. I'd love it. On most bucket lists, travel is listed as the number one thing people want to do. Mm-hmm. And I've done a lot. I've done so much research around bucket lists and travel as a bucket list item, and what that looks like. And I think it's important. I think it's important, and it's fun to have a bucket list. And neuroscience teaches us that as much as travel changes our perspectives, planning travel changes our perspectives, and thinking about travel changes our perspectives, and helps us get free of some of the things that hold us back. So that's why I'm a big fan of what I call a travel life cycle, which starts with dreaming. Dream about places you want to go, make a list of them, and exactly discover those places. What are the best things to do there, and how do I get there? I mentioned on a call a couple of days ago, I'm going to Morocco. I have a one-way ticket to Morocco, right? Wow. And the great thing is I'm using frequent flyer points on Air France just because I had accumulated other frequent flyer points that I couldn't use, right? And so by moving them all to Air France, I was able to get enough points to fly on Air France. Well, Air France has a deal. If you're connecting through Paris, then you can stay a couple extra days.
Oh, so wow. Okay.
I'm going to stay a couple extra days, right? And then go to Morocco, and I'm going to a friend's wedding, and I'm excited about that. I'm excited about spending a few days in Paris. I haven't been in Paris in, a while, and I'm looking forward to going back and seeing what's new and different, or what's the same even, because I enjoy the same things at times because we get a different perspective of them the next time.
Well, because I'm actually going to take a poll for a national bucket list day trip in Vegas next year to see who wants to go. But there's an amazing restaurant called the Marrakesh.
Oh, nice.
It's right off Flamingo, and I actually used to be a cook there at Roost Chris Steakhouse many years ago,
All
and it's
right.
right across the parking lot. And I think it's like 50 or 60 now, but before it was $24. You get like the wine and get to sit down on the pillows, got the belly dancers and all that
All
stuff.
right.
So we'll take a poll to see who wants to do that. But
Let's
did you
go.
know that the bucket list does not stop at travel?
No, it doesn't.
Become an author,
All
learn
right.
to surf, overcome fears of swimming. I've actually surfed a couple times. I popped up a couple times, and I actually hurt myself right after COVID. So I need to get myself back out there, but I'm going to start doing paddle boarding and stuff like that. But there's so many different things that you can use as your bucket list. And I call my bucket list as my goal sheet.
All
What is
right.
something you've always wanted to do? Just a
Yeah,
huge list of stuff. Kind of talk about how you feel that the bucket list is beyond the travel bucket
that's
list.
right. Yeah. So, are you a great swimmer?
I'm afraid of the ocean.
Yeah. So
And I
I grew
have
up
a
in
great
Miami,
coach. So
Florida.
all of who your coach is,
Yeah. So
inspire.
I grew up in Miami, Florida, and I wasn't an over fan of the ocean. But do you wear a life jacket of any kind when you surf?
No,
Oh, I would. Yeah. There's no way. I mean, I wouldn't make it out there, man. I'd be hanging at the bottom of the rope underneath the surfboard.
well, we go waist high, so we don't go further out. But when you're on a surfboard and you see a wave coming because you're on the surfboard, yeah, it looks big, but it's only
Yeah.
1 or 2 feet.
Oh,
But the
right.
key is to overcome that fear and to find a coach. Like I got really lucky. I have a coach here in Huntington Beach who took a chance on me. He knew that I can barely swim, but I'll go in my friend's pool and paddle, around and stuff like that. But
All right.
it's just like anything else. If you're afraid to write a book, write a book. You're afraid to
Yeah.
swim, learn how to swim.
Yeah.
There is nothing that you can do if you put your mind to it, and if you have the right community and you're surrounded by the right people. Yeah, you could accomplish anything. I didn't want to write a book, but a few of my friends who took a workshop that I was teaching at that time, they said, "Well, why is all this in a book?" And I was like, "Well, typos, editing, all that. You have great content. Why not write a book?" So here I am, and I have a cruise coming up in November. I have 4 sea days. So 3 of those sea days, I'm going to be in the cabin, and I'm going to finish writing my book.
Good. Where are you going?
ABC Islands.
Oh, right. Okay. Those are great. I was there in December with my son.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Very
So,
cool. Yeah.
yeah. And does your audience know where the ABC Islands are?
Now let's talk about it.
All right. So,
Aruba is one.
with Aruba, yes, Aruba's great. That's probably the one that's most known in the ABC Islands. And the ABC Islands are Dutch, um, Dutch part of the Netherlands, and so there you actually are in Europe. I mean, they're considered to be part of Europe. So I'm sorry, my son, when we were there, the crew stopped at each of the islands,
Mhm.
and they were just phenomenal. Each island is different, unique, and
Yeah.
I enjoyed each of them. So they were great. They each served a different purpose in the history of the Netherlands. So I think that's great that you're going.
And I'm really excited because as a travel agent, we can do site tours, so like hotel site tours.
Oh,
I've
right.
actually done a couple in San Francisco. I'm doing one in Miami here in November. And so it's really great to know the property, because if we're going to sell the property, we need to know about it. So there's a couple
Sure.
of properties that we're going to do in Aruba. Bon Air has the most beautiful homes. They have all the different colored homes.
Oh, right.
And yeah, just absolutely amazing to be able to create this memory with my friend. That'll be a lifetime of memories that we'll never forget.
Right. Yeah. And my son, he studied ahead of time and found out there were some wrecks around Curacao. So he actually dove some of the wrecks there.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So that was great. That was a lot of fun. It was a great cruise. So you'll have a great time. You're going in November?
Yes.
All right. You'll have a great time. Can I ask which cruise line?
CCL.
So, okay, good. All right. That's awesome, man. The
Yeah.
biggest cruise line out there, right?
Yes, I don't know if I ever told you, but I was working with Norwegian Cruise Lines, Pride of America ship in Hawaii at the end of my culinary career before I got into travel. And it was pretty amazing to
Right.
be able to experience that. And I actually got off on Maui so I could experience the road to Hana and all that. And there's actually a national day on the national calendar called, I believe it's Name Your Vehicle Day.
Okay.
I actually have a 1996 Ford Ranger. I've had for quite a while, and I named that vehicle Lahaina because Maui
Oh,
is one of
nice.
my favorite beach cities in the world. So, how about
Right.
you? What is one of your favorite beach cities that you visited like throughout your time?
Well, the last one I went to was in Cannes. That my son and I were there in August of last year.
Wow.
We went for his birthday. And it's only really expensive and known for like 3 weeks out of the year, right? When they had the Cannes Film Festival. The rest of the time, it's actually pretty affordable. It's not overly expensive. There are a lot of hotels, a lot of Airbnbs when it's not during the 3 weeks during the Cannes Film Festival. And so uh, I really, really enjoyed it. We were there. They had a fireworks display going on, and the beaches were great. The weather was great. We had a lot of fun. We drove around the French Riviera,
Wow.
Cannes, Saint Tropez, we drove to Nice because that's where our outbound flight was. I think inbound we flew into Barcelona or maybe somewhere else. I can't remember, but we flew out of Nice, and it was a magical place. So I really enjoyed it. I'm not an overly beach guy. I do enjoy it, but it was really nice there. Been beaches in a lot of places. Greece has a lot of great beaches. Of course, I'm Greek, so that's why I think that Southern Cal, of course, Florida, um, South America, Brazil, of course, has a lot of great beaches. I've been to a few of those, and Easter Island, great beach in the middle of like one of the most remote places in the world, out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Have you been to the Rhodes Island?
To which island?
Rhodes Island.
Rhodes in Greece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where my family's from. Five brothers were born there. My mother.
Because that's actually my last name is Rhodes. I use Lee a
Oh,
lot for online, but
okay.
yeah, so that's
Yeah.
when I kind of start doing, some history check on that. So what do you
Why,
know
why
about the
was
Rhodes
that?
Island?
Why is your last name Rhodes?
Well, my father is Irish and Dutch, and I haven't really done that much genealogy on it, but that's all I know. But I don't know if that's from our heritage or not. It's
All right.
something definitely I want to look into.
All right. Very good.
Yeah. So we could close out now if you want. Is there anything else you like to add and the value of having this book in your book arsenal?
You know, the last my parting words around books and travel, and my book is really a cornucopia of travel experiences, right? As I talk, and my intent in the book is to dig deep of yourself when you travel, right? The destination matters, the place matters, but what matters more is you.
Mhm.
And people go to Florence, Italy, and they complain. They complain about the crowds, they complain about the heat, they complain about food, they complain about everything. And people go to Florence and have a magical experience, right? To me, the difference is how one really views it themselves. So, what I try to do is, and I'll go to on Amazon and do it. If I'm going somewhere, I'll go to Amazon, type the name of the city or the place I'm going, and not look for travel books per se, but I'll look for novels or travel memoirs about those places. And I write about some of those in my book, where I would read a book about a place that that someone else went there incidentally, right, and had an experience, but I wanted to go there and see what was the same or what was different or what was the experience like, not here are the top 10 things to do, right? The difference is, someone who goes there and they live there maybe for a month or 6 months or a year, and they go to the cafe. What is that experience like? What is the restaurant experience like? And that's another way we can travel without ever leaving, right? Is to pick up a book about a place or about a person in a place and go. Mark Twain wrote several great travel books. He wrote one called Around the Equator, and he wrote one called The Idiots Abroad, or The Innocents Abroad, but some people have wrote about the idiots abroad. And he's on this 2 or 3 month cruise across the Atlantic, through Europe, through the Mediterranean to Israel, and it's like a Holy Land cruise. But he writes about the cruise along the whole way. It's kind of a thick book, and it's super fun to read because it's all about how people traveled, in the late 1800s. Wow. And early 1900s, and what that experience was like. And so I just encourage people, pick up a book about someone else's travel experiences. Travel guides are great, but read about other people's experiences and go figure those out.
So in closing, I want to talk about a little bit business. So if you want to get to know your friends online, there's a new way for you to do your one-on-one. Instead of meeting on Zoom, meet in the community. For instance, I live near Huntington Beach. I like to just go on the pier and do a little walk and talk. Instead of on Zoom, meet in person, and then grab a little lunch or dinner afterwards. Maybe you can find a live band, or like I mentioned earlier, you can do a dolphin excursion. Every year for National Dolphin Day, I either go Davies Locker out of Newport, or I go down to Dana Point. Also, right. You've got like the wine holidays, like National Wine Day, Drink Wine Day. You could take a wine and cheese tour for $50 a person. So start making those experiences. Think of other people first. And that is my best advice to grow your business. And that's how I've grown my business, by showing gratitude. When Jim came on the show last time, I sent him a gift. And this time I have another gift for him, just to show my love and appreciation. Because at the end of the day, when we walk out that door, we may hit our head and that might be it. Or there might be a situation in traffic and we get T-boned, or whatever the case may be. Live every single day in gratitude. November is National Gratitude Month. But wake up every morning and be grateful. And lastly, what are your DMOs, daily method of operation? What do you do to practice that?
Me? Mm-hmm. Well, first thing I do is I generally wake up super early and meditate, like for an hour and a half. I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago. We did 35 hours of meditating in a week. And I find that for me, that helps me just be and stay centered. And I find that the more I do it, the more I love it. Does my mind wander? Sure. Do I think about other things I need to do? Sure. But, at the end of the day, it's practice and we get better at it. So that's one thing. I read, I exercise, I read every day. I read every day. I read travel stories. I read travel books. I love hearing other people's experiences when they travel. And so I enjoy that. And I write every day. I mentioned on the call a couple of days ago, I'm writing 5 new chapters for my book, for this book. And I am writing a travel romance book, and I'm writing a book on travel poetry. So, and I'm loving, each of them have a different audience, and each of them are just a different way of looking at travel for the person.
So a couple shout outs, Mary West at the marywestnetwork.com and Patrick Snow. What would you like to say about them?
Well, they're both incredible in what they do and how they work, what their approach is, right? And I think that's the missed message with companies and so many individuals, is what does the approach look like? And both Mary and Pat have an embracing approach that that makes you feel welcome and safe and in great hands. And I admire both of them and their insight. Patrick's helping me with my additional chapters and speaking, consulting, and writing. And Mary, of course, with the podcast and online events and experiences and that sort of thing. So I love each of them and would definitely encourage their work to anybody.
Thank you. And I know, like, when I reconnected with you, I said I have to connect you to Patrick and Mary, because I knew it was going to be a great synergy all around. So
right, and
so
to you as well, Cindy. Thank you for your network and being free with your network and sharing that, and that's what makes us just keep going.
Yes, and hashtag friends become family. So go out there and get off Facebook, create those memories. And how do you feel about that, about doing a walk and talk for people that you want to start building a rapport with?
I love it, man. I would always rather have a close proximity, not a digital proximity with people than, I mean, they're more animated, they're more lively. You feel their energy, you feel how they think and what they do and what that experience looks like. I love it 100%. I love it.
Thank you. So we'll be talking in a couple days, and we're working on some great collaboration projects. Everyone, please stay tuned. It's going to be pretty powerful for both of our brands. And closing, go ahead and do a shout out to your website where we can order your book.
All right. It's www.jimmenge.com, JIMMENGE.com. And you can sign up for a newsletter. I post articles periodically, and just ask questions. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me.
And as a thank you, let me see, for the month of October, Women's History Month, anybody who comments either on YouTube or Facebook, I'm going to be picking a winner. And one lucky lady entrepreneur is going to be receiving a book from Jim and I. So definitely stay tuned and follow Jim. If you have bought the book, please do a review on him. Super crucial. Now, do you have a Google page for that where people can review you, or you have a special website, or is it just the jimmenge.com?
It's the reviews go online, either Amazon or wherever you bought it, right? So that's one thing. But if you buy the book, either the paper book or the digital book, and you take a picture holding it and you post it on social media and you send a copy, I will include you in my next book.
All right. Let's do it. All right. So I'm going to put you in the green room and hang tight for 1 minute.
All righty.
So make sure you go to the show notes here and definitely add this book on your arsenal, and think of 5 people every single day that you could show gratitude. This is Cindy, and we'll see you on the next podcast.